Tim Curry, I mean...
This guy always goes hard, though. Tim Curry goes hard. Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And it was Will and Kristen in the basement with the microphone.
No, it's fine. You nailed it. Perfect joke, well delivered.
God damn it. We are talking about Clue.
That's right.
Yeah. The movie from 1985 based on the board game.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I think a lot of people, this might be like the death game. This is the classic.
Depends on how old you are.
I suppose that's true. It goes back to the 40s. Mm-hmm. Is when Clue.
Right, it's called CLUEDO in the UK.
Yes, evidently in the UK, and we've got a big UK audience. Mm-hmm. So
hello, everyone.
We've got to ride this line, I think. CLUEDO in the UK because obviously the word clue is in it, which connotes some form of mystery. And Ludo, which is Latin for I play.
Right.
And it was changed for the American and Canadian audiences because nobody over here knows Latin.
Right.
I guess Latin is bandied about relatively frequently enough that it made Cluedo, like, to me, Clue is like almost like a perfect title. Clue.
It's fabulous. I don't know.
Right
I mean, did everybody in the UK get that? They were like, oh, yes, of course, it's Clue and Ludo, which is the Latin for I know.
All I can go by is what I read and what perhaps our UK audience might send in.
Right. No, I know that that's what it is, but maybe they didn't know either. Maybe they're just like, okay, it's called Cluedo.
Yeah,
the same way that we just be like, sure, it's called Monopoly.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. Although I'll give you another little tidbit about early creation of Clue.
Yeah.
The original name that when it was invented, so it was during World War II, Anthony E. Pratt came up with the game. He liked, I guess there were a lot of like murder dinner party things. But with the war going on, he was like, let's make a game out of this. And so when he came up with it, he worked with his wife, Elva, and they called it Murder!
I mean, also right to the point.
Which I think is awesome.
Yeah,
like, murder.
I don't dislike that at all.
It sounds like it's like such a presentation. ! Really makes me think of somebody popping up and going like, hooray, murder.
Yeah, it's fun.
Which
it's
I think
scary
is
fun.
Yes. I love scary fun.
I know. This is the name of our company.
Yes, Kristen, we revealed it actually. We had never revealed it before that Kristen
sure was very exciting.
Started a company.
We revealed that we have an LLC. Ooh.
I don't think people know that. And
but what do they care?
What might it suggest that we have our own company? What other things might we want to do under that banner?
Sure. I don't know. I would just think, it makes sense if they have a Patreon, that it's a good way to work that.
Maybe that too. Anyway, our company is called Scary Fun.
Yes.
So you actually, if you now look back, you'll see that I use the phrase scary fun everywhere when I talk about our show. I just love it. But so, murder! The entire thing was like, this board game is predicated on that cozy mystery vibe, like an Agatha Christie novel, which it was also inspired by. Mm-hmm. It's like, and then there were none.
Yeah.
Bunch of characters in a mansion. Someone's dead. One of them must be responsible. Right. Go.
How do we figure this out? Yeah, it's like a process of elimination game, basically.
Yes. Do you think of this as being like a kid's toy? Or do you... Because I almost think about Clue. Not that I play it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've played Clue in decades.
I haven't either. I got Clue, the video game, and then I started playing it, and then I got bored.
Okay.
So
well, modern Clue is a little different from Clue.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a really long time. I mean, I guess it is for kids. I don't know.
I think of it almost the same way that I would think about like chess or checkers or something, which I think might be a little weird to some people. To me, it's like, I don't know. It's a very thoughtful game of...
It's logic-based. But it's also just kind of chance and process of elimination based. It's not difficult.
But it does require the little gray cells.
It does. So, yeah, I guess I just think of it as a board game.
You do?
I don't really think of it as a kid's game in particular, although I did play it when I was a kid.
I definitely played it as a kid, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your history with the movie Clue?
With the movie Clue. I mean,
do you have other Clue game things to talk about?
Oh, I have a lot of Clue game things. I have some very funny revelations about the game itself.
Okay. Yeah, let me not step on it. Go for it.
No, because I do want to talk about the movie, obviously. I think the movie is like, you don't think about Clue as a franchise.
Yeah.
Right? You think of Clue as a board game and that one movie, which is like the jewel in the crown.
Right.
Right.
Certainly.
But weirdly, it is a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It is a rather deceptively large franchise.
Okay. Tell me.
I know that, like, I think I did this with Blair Witch too, where I'm like, people think of the Blair Witch as being like a movie or a handful of movies, but it's really like it's books and it's this and it's this, blah, 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 blah. So many different things. It's every different kind of medium.
Right.
Well, over the course of what would this be? 80 years, just about. Clue has become almost everything. It's a movie, a TV show, a reality game show, which actually Chrissy and I will be looking at on our Patreon this upcoming Monday. But the board game itself has gone through a number of changes over the years. So I'll just quickly reiterate.
Okay.
In its classic sense, Clue is all about Mr. Body, who was killed. And now all the different suspects are going to investigate the mansion. And in the board game, you're playing as one of these characters, theoretically, as you try to figure out who done it. And so they are Miss Scarlet, Mr. Green, although he's known as Reverend Green, literally everywhere else on the globe, it seems.
Yeah.
Colonel Mustard, Professor Plum, Mrs. Peacock, Mrs. White. And they had a few other names that didn't make the final cut. These are characters that were planned for CLUEDO, but were dropped or eliminated.
Yeah.
As Wikipedia
deftly
says. Mr. Brown, don't laugh.
Talk about eliminated.
Mr. Gold, Miss Gray, Mrs. Silver. And there are weapons. So every game is like, Mr. Body was killed.
Yeah.
Who did it, with what murder weapon, and in which room.
Yep.
And so here are the potential weapons. A candlestick, a dagger, a lead pipe, a revolver, a rope, or a wrench. Which those are also like, to me in my head, those are like the murder weapons that exist in the world or something.
Yes, totally. Yeah, they're the signature murder weapons.
It all comes from Clue in my head.
Yes.
But there were other weapons planned that didn't make the cut, including a bomb.
Okay.
You'd think you'd figure out the room
messy.
pretty immediately. A syringe.
Okay.
This one made me laugh. A shillelagh.
God.
That just wouldn't work for an American audience at all. It's like a walking stick. It's
an Irish walking stick that you'd beat somebody with.
Yeah, you'd beat the shit out of someone with it. A fireplace poker, an axe.
Okay.
And poison.
Yeah.
Which I almost think it's weird that poison didn't make the cut.
I know. Poison's so classic, especially for like a whodunity kind of thing.
Exactly.
I would say it's one of the more popular weapons for a whodunit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not messy.
And so essentially, because of all of these, different variations, 6 suspects, 6 weapons, and 9 possible rooms of the mansion on the game board, that makes a grand total of 324 possible configurations.
Right.
So likely, almost every single time you play Clue, it's going to be a different person, murder weapon, and room, which keeps it fresh to play constantly. But to your point, it's just like a game of elimination. Everybody gets a card. 3 cards are placed in an envelope.
Yeah.
A person, a weapon, and a room.
Right. So you throughout the game, cards are distributed throughout the players, and every card you get is one of those. And if you've got it, then it's not the murder weapon, the room, or the person, obviously.
Yes, so you mark it off.
So you just keep marking off what you've got.
Here are the things I know it can't be.
Yeah.
Therefore, whatever is left is the person, the murder weapon, and the room.
Right.
Which is why I think it's actually kind of clever. It's like a logic puzzle game that you play with each other, but you're playing with other people who might lie and stuff.
Right.
I think that's super duper fun. I wonder if kids even play this today.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if it's like out of...
I know that there's a new version, and it all looks different. You know what I mean? They're like all yassified.
Yes, I have that.
Yeah.
I have that, by the way. Mrs. White is out.
Oh, really?
Mrs. White is not part of the modern game anymore.
Okay.
Hello, Dr. Orchid.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I've seen that.
All right. And then we've got just unnecessary additions as well. Miss Peach, Monsieur Brunette, Madame Rose, Sergeant Gray / Inspector Gray, and they'll change the professions sometimes. So like Professor Plum, at least I know for sure in a comic book, he's like a tech bro.
Okay.
So he's like a professor, but like he's like got like a PhD in being like a badass Mark Zuckerberg type guy. You know what I mean? So like
he's insufferable.
Yes. They keep trying to update these characters when weirdly the appeal is in them being from the 40s.
Totally.
The total appeal is that they're out of time.
I know. It's so silly. Now, those names that you just said, I think they introduced those in like the 80s because the Clue VHS game that we had when we were kids, Will has here, and we played on an episode of the Netherworld Dispatch, those characters are present.
Yes.
So they were integrated like mid-80s.
Yeah, I think it's a muddy timeline of when some of these additional characters floated in and out. Yeah. But for sure, it appears that Mrs. White is no more. Okay. Dr. Orchid is now the standard. But there are a million variations because this was a very popular game, including Clue Junior.
Yeah.
Clue Junior is not it's like all bait. They look like Cabbage Patch versions. Like on the box art, it's like a Cabbage Patch version.
They murdering each other?
Of Colonel Mustard.
Yeah.
It's not murder. Way back when it was about finding missing pets. Clue Junior. But there's a modern Clue Junior that's different.
Who soiled whose diaper in which room?
I think Miss Peacock soiled Mr. Green's diaper.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's all crossed
That's
over.
That's part of the mystery.
Oh my goodness.
How does one do that?
How did she do it? No, listen to this. This is from
that's a mind trap question.
You're right. Mind Trap being the cassette game that Kristen's referencing something we talked about on a different show.
Well, but we've talked about it a bunch in general.
Fair enough.
I was going to explain it.
So this is from the sales documentation. This might be from the back of the box or just from the Amazon page. I'm not sure. Quote, a character has mistakenly placed an item in their backpack.
Oh, no.
So who did it? For a junior audience, it's like it wasn't even intentional.
Yeah, right.
The crime that was perpetrated.
Yeah, you have to make it so
super
gentle.
safe.
Yeah.
You kids these days.
Yeah, I know.
Get ready for my rant about modern kids.
Oh, it's a woke Clue.
I bet you've never heard someone rant about that before.
Yeah.
A character mistakenly
snowflakes.
put an item in their backpack, and another scenario, a volcano has erupted in the lab.
Wow. Like a baking soda and vinegar volcano?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's also a modern game called Clue Conspiracy, which seems to be dressed up for like the modern like card gaming audience, where it's all about roles you play. So listen to this quote: After the death of Body Black, at Tudor Mansion, you decide to lay low at the elegant Black Adder Resort.
Okay.
Which I think might be a reference to White Lotus.
Oh, maybe. I mean, when did that come out? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay.
Who can you trust? It seems like some people have cards that are like, you're a villain, play a villain throughout the game. So you have to sort of like guess who everyone else you're playing with, like what role they're playing. Which famously, I asked Mom, there's a story in our family that our dad used to tell. Our dad was like really into mysteries. He's probably why we played Clue as kids.
Probably.
Not that it was unusual to play, but...
yeah.
So... He used to tell a story about how he'd purchased this like murder mystery game that was incredibly involved and super detailed and supposed to be really fun to play and rewarding to play. And he brought it over to our grandfather's house. So our mom's parents' house, and Dad, you know, we're in bed, kids are in bed. And so he's like, now we're going to play the game.
Yeah.
So he gets out the box and he starts to explain all of the copious amounts of rules, and everybody who's there is supposed to be playing a different role and stuff. And so he slides them a card that he doesn't know what's on it. But so he slides to like grandma, grandpa, mom, everybody's role. What they're
I don't know this at all.
And it's like 45 minutes to explain the rules. And then grandpa goes, it says that I'm...
Oh, yes, I do.
He goes, it says that I'm the murderer.
Right.
And it totally ruined the whole thing. And everyone just started laughing, and Dad never got to play the game.
That's right. I do know that.
I tried to ask Mom what it was, and there's no knowing, unfortunately.
It's lost
but like
time.
this like mystery game vibe.
That's so funny.
Clue Conspiracy might be that
maybe.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
There are 1,000 different variations where it's like Clue, Scooby-Doo Clue. Just like jam other characters into it.
Yeah.
So in Scooby-Doo Clue, Mrs. White needs Scooby and the gang's help after some other people have been abducted, which is very Scooby-Doo-ish, that someone's been taken away. There's a Disney villains version with like Ursula and Cruella de Vil. And the threat there again is not murder, but someone stole the magic. Got to find out who took the magic.
Yeah. It's funny.
This one's weird. The Office Clue. which is who killed Toby Flenderson?
Oh, weird.
So Toby's dead. Michael, yes.
He hates him.
Well, on the box, it says Michael has assembled everybody to find out who killed Toby.
So funny.
But killed is in quotes sometimes.
Yeah.
Implying that this is like one of Michael's schemes where he just is like roping everybody into something.
Yeah.
But it's not always in quotes. Sometimes
Weird.
it's presented as if Toby might actually be dead.
What does this mean?
I have no idea. We'll never know. But also Toby, in fan theory world, was believed to have been a serial killer.
Yes.
Within the universe of The Office, the
Right.
Scranton Strangler. So maybe he faked his death to get away with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I thought you'd appreciate this. This is the last IP-based one that I have to share with you. Mm-hmm. Golden Girls Clue.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what do you think is at stake in Clue the Golden Girls?
Did somebody like steal the cheesecake? Is that what it is?
I'm going to have a heart attack.
Is that what it is?
I think I'm having a heart attack. How in the world? How in the world?
Cheesecake is central to the Golden Girls.
Who ate the last piece of cheesecake, it says in my notes, because it says it on the goddamn box.
Yeah, but cheesecake is their thing. They sit in the kitchen and they eat cheesecake and talk about stuff.
That's their thing?
Yeah.
The show is about more than cheesecake.
I know, but it's like emblematic of the show. Do you remember when I bought those?
It's a shock.
Before there was Etsy, do you remember I bought those little altars on eBay that somebody had crafted? I had a Golden Girls one and a Strangers with Candy one.
Yes, I do remember that.
The Golden Girls one had a little cheesecake on the altar.
Wow.
Strangers with Candy one had a needle.
I am blown away. Yeah. I am blown away that you plucked goddamn cheesecake.
No, I'm telling you, it's not hard.
Okay, all right, if you
Yeah.
say so.
Well, I gotta tell you, I thought what you were about to say because we record the show live every Wednesday on youtube.com/@GTTUpod at 7:00 Eastern. And in the chat right now, Choi T just said that there's a Riverdale clue.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that it's like it's like what Monopoly did.
Totally. Yeah. You just kind of like, I don't know how it works, but yeah,
You just
it's different promotional things.
License properties, money exchanges hands, and
Right.
then you've got 1,000 different variations of Monopoly or Clue.
Yeah.
Like we had Batman and Robin Monopoly,
yeah.
and all the little tokens are little Batman-related tokens.
Yeah.
So for every time that Clue gets licensed, all the little murder weapons become central to the IP. So it's like a little thing of Scooby snacks or whatever.
I wish there was like a Seinfeld clue.
Oh, I mean, maybe there is.
Maybe.
If I'm being honest, I mean,
Yeah.
who the hell knows? I'm going to look it up. But there you go. That's the stuff that's about the board game itself.
Yeah.
Which I thought was at least mildly interesting to take a look at.
I think it is.
I love that it was
Totally.
originally called Murder! Exclamation point.
I do too. Will and I also loved to play this computer game, like super rudimentary game just called Sleuth.
Yes.
So-
Sleuth. Sleuth is outstanding. This is an old DOS game on computer. I've actually streamed this.
We did it together.
A lot of times. After even we played it together, I just would stream it periodically.
Yep.
And it's just like very simply like a little character examines a little floor plan to solve a murder.
It's so fun.
I love these murder mystery games. Like it truly is like the definition of a cozy vibe.
Yeah, it's the best.
Seinfeld Clue does exist.
Okay, what are their weapons?
It looks like JFK's golf clubs. Okay, I think a wizard tip calculator. The really strong shower head, or probably a low flow shower head.
Yeah,
If I had to guess. The cigar store Indian. Can of beefarino.
Great.
Jerry Seinfeld's microphone. I don't know what this is. It looks like a little pin.
It's like a pin or a nail.
I'm not sure.
The thing that comes to mind, and it's way too much of a deep cut. I don't even know why I know it. It can't be this, but I'll just say because I already brought it up. George is like dating his unemployment office lady's daughter to try to like keep his unemployment going.
Yeah.
And she ends up breaking up with him because he has no job and no prospects. And he says that he just had an interview. And she's like, oh, you think I'm going to stay with the guy because he can sell me a box of nails? Because he was going to work at the hardware store.
That's interesting. Here,
It can't be that.
I've got the back of the box, which I think might lend some... Oh, a Festivus poll.
Oh, okay.
Of course, it's a Festivus poll. The big
Maybe it upside
salad.
Yeah.
It was a label maker, not the wizard.
Oh, Label Baby Jr.
And the statue that George thought got stolen or whatever. Remember Jerry This is like a season 2 thing. It's like Jerry has a cleaning person, and they think that he took a statue off the mantle.
Yeah. Vaguely. Okay.
So here's, okay. So Jerry Seinfeld, this is weird. Okay. 1 incriminating newsletter, 6 suspects, 9 infamous Seinfeld locations, 9 possible weapons. Newman's at it again. This is a weird premise, everybody. This is a weird premise. Newman's at it again. This time he's written an inflammatory newsletter containing embarrassing stories about the Seinfeld gang and is threatening to distribute it on his postal route all over New York City. None of the suspects are going to let that newspaper leak, so it's up to you to find out who knocked out Newman. So Newman's not dead. He's been
He's just knocked out. Yeah.
What weapon was used?
I wouldn't want it to be if Newman was dead.
And where are the missing newsletters stashed?
Okay.
So here are some examples. Did Kramer knock Newman out with the label maker and stash the newsletters at the Chinese restaurant? Or did Jerry silence Newman with his microphone and hide the newsletters in his apartment? The suspects only have 8 hours to hand over the newsletters or Newman will call the police. Except he's knocked out.
Yeah, right.
So something seems amiss.
Well, what can you do?
But here's the newsletter is... It's called Newman's News, first issue. George Costanza caught double dipping. Here's a cover story. Is Jerry Seinfeld a, quote, nice man? Stories of marble rye theft and deportation point to the contrary. And then a shot of Kramer in his hot tub in his apartment says, Cosmo Kramer's secrets exposed. I guess he's the one who found that tape.
I guess.
He's the one that had that Comedy Store tape. It says,
It must have been him.
A sordid tale of mooching, smuggling, and arson. David Putty is a movie stealer. Peterman stole Kramer's stories, and Elaine's is cut off. I have no idea what it says. Okay, so Seinfeld Clue technically exists.
Okay, good to know. I'm glad that it's out there.
Are you?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's only $22.
Okay.
It's on sale right now. It's 44% off.
I'm fine. I'm happy to know that it's just around.
There are only 3 left in stock.
I'm still okay.
You're running out of time.
I mean, it's silly. You know,
It could be here within 5 days.
On the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion, Sheree Whitfield put out the She News, which was basically the Newman News. And it was just trashing mostly Candy Burris. So don't worry about it. One person out there knows what I'm talking about.
Too late. I'm worried about it. I'll definitely think about that beyond right now.
The She News.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about the movie.
Let's.
What's your history with the movie Clue?
Kicks ass.
It does kick ass.
Love the movie Clue. Loved it as soon as I clapped eyes on it. I don't know. I feel like I just saw it on TV. I feel like it was on Comedy Central like every day.
It was endlessly on television
all
when
the
we were
time.
kids. Yeah. In fact, I watched it with Allie, and I still know all of the commercial breaks.
Oh, really?
Right? Like when Colonel Mustard goes, just checking, 2 dead bodies, everything's okay.
Definitely.
Like commercial break. That's where the commercial comes in on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
I feel the rhythm of all the commercial breaks still because of how much I watched this goddamn movie.
Yeah. No, it's the best. So it's an uninteresting history. I just love it.
Do you know?
And yours.
Are you aware of the fact that some people really don't like it?
Yes. And I hate to tell you, I'm sleeping with the enemy.
Ryan doesn't like Clue?
No, he doesn't.
What does he think of it?
He just doesn't like it. He didn't watch it with me for this round, but he's not a fan.
Really?
Yeah.
He doesn't like
I think if I remember correctly for him.
It's a smarmy film.
Well, that's the thing. I think if I remember correctly for him, the same way Will say that like some movie makes us sick.
Yeah.
Like Clue makes him not feel good.
Okay.
It's that kind of
It
thing.
never stops moving.
No.
It never stops. Characters are yelling and running and talking simultaneously.
Yeah.
And talking over each other.
Yes.
And the wordplay. My God, the wordplay.
It's nonstop.
It is.
So I can understand how for some it would be a headache of a movie. Kind of, I'm almost surprised it's not for me, but maybe it's just the subject matter. If it wasn't a mystery, I'm sure that this kind of pace, I'd be like,
Yes, because it's almost like 20s-esque dialogue.
Yeah, it's
where
a farce.
Like, hold on, you dizzy dame. Come over here. Come over here. Come over there. No, come over here.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, oh my God.
Right. But luckily, the mystery is enough to keep me more than that. But like, I think that that's my way in. And then like the actors are really good. Tim Curry, forget about it. Michael McKean, huh? Leslie Ann Warren, yes.
The cast is absolutely
It's stacked.
incredible.
Yeah.
Madeline Kahn, Eileen Brennan, Michael McKean, Leslie Ann Warren, Christopher Lloyd
Yep.
as Professor Plum.
A lech.
And Professor Plum,
Plum's
not
Lech.
Christopher Lloyd,
No, of course
as
not.
far as we know.
No.
And yeah, hell yeah, Tim Curry.
Did you know that Carrie Fisher was originally supposed to play Miss Scarlet, but she went into rehab right before they were supposed to start shooting, and she initially said, she called them and she was like, hey, I'm going to rehab, but I still really want to do this. I've arranged with them where it's okay that I leave for work or whatever, but the studio was too concerned insurance-wise.
Yeah.
So they pulled her and hired Leslie Ann Warren, who was Carrie Fisher's friend, and like it was all okay.
Oh, okay, well that's good.
Yeah.
But it would have been really interesting to see
I know.
Carrie Fisher.
I know. And also, interestingly, Leslie Ann Warren played Scarlett O'Hara on Broadway. And then she played Miss Scarlet.
That's interesting.
I know.
And then Tim Curry says, frankly, my Scarlet, I don't give a damn. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah. They said that they just like couldn't not say that.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some easy jokes, quote unquote. But
Yeah.
it's like the sort of like confidence and chemistry of all these performers that really makes the whole thing like
Definitely.
just like fun. Just
Yeah.
totally fun.
And also,
But
just,
I can't say I was familiar with Leslie Ann Warren. It would be fun to see Carrie Fisher because then selfishly I'd just be like, I know everybody.
I know. Well, did you know Eileen Brennan?
Well, you scoff and you look at me quizzically, but I'm sorry, who played the weird cat lady in Jeepers Creepers? Eileen Brennan.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember the weird cat lady. I've only seen Jeepers Creepers like twice, and I shan't see it again.
It's 2 times too many.
Yeah, I know.
Watch the opening with that truck scene and then never look at it again.
I'm not going to.
It's fine.
Yeah. But okay, that's cool. I know her from something. Honestly, it's ridiculous. I think that I knew her as a kid from being on Fairy Tale Theater with
really?
Shelley Duvall. I
Sure.
feel like she was in an episode or something because I remember seeing her and being like, oh, I know this lady.
I'm
kind
familiar with this person.
of. I could be totally wrong, but that's what's occurring to me.
If you'll forgive me,
Yeah.
I want to rewind our conversation for one moment.
Please.
I said watch the beginning of Jeepers Creepers with the trucks and then turn it off.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say, don't watch Jeepers Creepers. Watch Duel,
Okay.
which was directed by Steven Spielberg.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Which Jeepers Creepers pretty obviously was like inspired by
Right.
with the one cool truck thing that I like.
I did end up
Watch
watching
Duel
that.
by a little filmmaker named Little Stevie Spielberg.
I did end up watching that when you told me about it, like
Isn't it
last
great?
year or whatever. Yeah, it was
It's
good.
outstanding. It's like a pre-Joyride.
Yeah.
I think Steven Spielberg was inspired by Joyride when he made Duel, even though Joyride wouldn't be out for a few decades.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so this movie was directed by John Lynn. But guess what? Somebody else was supposed to direct that. A little somebody you might know as Jonathan Landis.
Oh,
Was originally supposed to direct Clue, hired Jonathan Lynn as the writer.
Okay.
Then something came up for John Landis, and he was like, hey, would you like to direct this too? Because Jonathan Lynn had directed before, and he was like, okay. And so that's how that all happened.
Okay, that's why all the deaths in this movie were pretend.
Yeah. Interesting, no?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry. What do you mean? I said yes like I understood.
It's a very morbid joke. Perhaps
Oh, no. I do know.
perhaps in bad taste, but John Landis, I mean,
Yes.
the first thing I think of when I hear the name John Landis is the deaths on set for Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yes. Yep.
Which was evidently like some rushed production and some unsafe situations with a goddamn helicopter blade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know enough to know who's responsible or what, but it's the first thing I think of when I hear
I don't know,
John
but
Landis.
I mean, children died and somebody was beheaded.
Yeah, that's right.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
So dig out of that hole.
You're the one who got the shovel.
I know, it's your fault. Now I'm making you have to just deal with the ramifications of what I've said.
Oh no. And also another little like casting switcheroo, Jennifer Jason Leigh was supposed to play Yvette,
Oh.
the French maid, and then she also had a scheduling issue, so it went to Colleen Camp, who ended up playing the role. And also in talks for it, before all that, were Julianne Moore and Madonna.
Wow.
Right?
I'm glad it wasn't Madonna.
I am too. I feel like she'd be putting on like a very silly voice.
Yeah, I can't pretend that I
And-
know Colleen Camp, but I think she's really
either.
good in the role.
She's
And
great.
Once she walks into, we're gonna spoil Clue.
Yes, yeah, just expect spoilers.
We're
just
gonna
so you know.
we're gonna spoil the movie Clue. Maybe we'll save spoilers for the second half of the show, which we'll do. In a
Okay,
second.
sure.
But like, I think that she's really great as Yvette, and she's like silly and unassuming, right?
Yeah.
She carries the perfect unassuming vibe.
Yes.
You never cast an
expect
eye of
her-
suspicion her way. Ever.
Yeah, and I read that she said that she really liked that. Like,
Yeah.
you expect her to just be one thing, like the dumb, ditzy, boobs out
Yeah.
French maid, but she ends up being much more than that, and that was what she liked about
yes.
it.
It's kind of interesting. There's like an interestingly like I don't know. The movie is so self-aware.
Yeah.
But you called it a mystery. And that's the one thing I'm just going to take issue with briefly.
Yeah.
This is not a mystery movie. This is not a movie where you can look at it and go like, I bet I know what happened. It almost like deliberately is impossible to make sense of as anything other than a grim, atmospheric murder comedy, which is wonderful.
But to them, a mystery is occurring for them.
For
so
them,
I don't
for
know
the
that I think
characters,
that
yeah.
the definition of a mystery is that you yourself can solve it.
That's true, but it's like a mystery
But you
without
can't.
without any form of answer.
Well, you actually have 3 answers.
Well, there's that. All right,
Yeah.
let's we'll jump to spoilers in just a second, everybody. But real quick before we get there, we want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yes.
Hope you're enjoying the show so
Yeah.
far. What do you think? We'll leave a pregnant pause here so you can respond wherever you may be.
Yeah.
I like it, says person in car.
Great.
If you're enjoying this show, please consider spreading the word. I would love it if you wouldn't mind writing some posts on Facebook or Twitter, which I'm going to keep calling Twitter.
Yeah, I know. I think everybody is.
Instagram stories, tag us at GTTUpod. I love to see that stuff. It makes our day.
Yeah, it truly does.
And especially if you're enjoying what you're listening to, go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/GTTUpod. Multiple tiers, different rewards. The best of all of them is that we have a second podcast that we release every single Monday. So if you join the Demon tier, you're getting twice as much Guide to the Unknown every week as anybody else in the world.
Yeah.
And the most recent episode of the Netherworld Dispatch is episode 131, The Hungover Games.
Boy, oh boy. So we looked at spoof movies of the Hunger Games, since we talked about that in the last Guide to the Unknown episode, and they stink. There's the Hungover
terrible.
Games, which is a very strange, I was about to say mishmash of The Hangover and the Hunger Games, but it just seems like The Hangover is really just our way in.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like it's really kind of a mix-up of the two.
They're not even making fun of The Hangover. It's just
No.
like guys that act like the crew from The Hangover
With a guy who does a really good at Helms.
are really good at helms.
Really surprising.
But the Zach Galifianakis guy, this is puzzling, goes, I got this new air freshener. Uh-oh, it says on the back, may teleport you to dystopic futures. Future dystopias. And that's how they get to the Hunger Games, is through an air It's garbage. It's not a movie.
No, and then there's also the Starving Games, which I think is even worse.
Right. But only the Hungover Games has Jamie Kennedy, and has him 3 different ways.
Yeah, it's starring Jamie Kennedy, and Jamie Kennedy. Like, he's one of the clumps.
Yes, you're right. He ain't no damn clump.
No.
So we watched clips of
Not
that.
my clump.
I had to, through my own fault, we watched a Red Band trailer because I was curious, and I ended up, it took me hours upon hours
Oh,
to
William.
censor that episode.
I'm sorry.
Oh
That
my God.
sucks.
It was like, I made my bed. I had to sleep in it.
I know. There were lots
Holy
of
crap.
titties in it.
Yes, it's true.
Didn't expect it.
And puppet wieners.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah.
More than you'd expect. So go check that out. I mean, I guess, what a sales pitch. Go see us be in pain is really the sales pitch on that.
That's rough.
Patreon.com/GTTUpod. And because it's episode 131, whatever you sign up for, you're almost guaranteed to get a ton of episodes instantaneously.
Oh,
You'll
yeah,
get
no matter
access.
what tier, you're going to get a lot of them.
Now, also on Friday, we did what we called our Demon Drive, an evening live stream. It was super fun. We
Yeah.
had, dozens upon dozens of people playing games with us, talking back. It was awesome.
It was great.
Thank you so much, everybody who came out. The replay's on our Patreon right now as well. But on that stream, we unveiled something new. You know Cameo, the service Cameo? We're not on that.
No.
But if you go to patreon.com/GTTUpod, you can go to our little shop.
Yeah.
where you can get a jump scare.
It's a cameo, but
It's
it's
a
just
cameo.
our version of it. So you can either sign up to get one of us individually for $10, or you can get both of us for $25. So check it out in the listings for those. We have all of the details, but it's a cool, fun thing if you'd like to do it for yourself or to ruin somebody else's day.
Hell yeah. So do it. Let us jump scare you in your life, or send a congratulatory, celebratory message to
That's
somebody.
right.
And I do, of course, have a review. This one comes to us from Franon, who says, "Don't know what took so long to review, but I love this podcast. I subscribed to the Guide to the Unknown podcast sometime in the winter of 2021 and never stopped listening since then. Will and Kristen are amazing. I love the huge array of unusual topics, spanning from the paranormal, mythology, to just plain old weird stuff. Most of all, I love the banter between Will and Kristen and their relationship. They're extremely relatable and definitely hilarious. There's a lot of vulnerability and geniusness.
That's so nice.
They feel like friends I didn't know I had. Seriously, give it a listen. 5 stars."
That's so nice. Thank you so much for that. That's
Thank
a really
you.
sweet review. And thank you to everybody who's left us a review. It really means a lot. It really helps the show, as you probably know, if you listen to podcasts. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to Clue, and we're going to be spoiling it now, as we all recall.
Yes, as we recall.
As we recall. So the entire point of Clue, the movie, eventually drives, like any whodunit, any murder mystery, drives toward, all right, there have been deaths. Who done it?
Right. Who did them?
And so they reveal, by the end of the movie, there are 6 deaths,
I think so.
something like that. And Tim Curry is, brilliantly laying out the master plan. He's running everyone all over the mansion to reenact the events of the murders themselves.
Tim Curry is basically the master of ceremonies in this thing. He is the butler of the manor. His boss, Mr. Body, has been killed.
Yes.
And so now he has to, because these are like guests of the house, now he has to figure it all out.
Weirdly, he's almost like the host of the movie.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
It's like it's a game show, and he's the host of the game show.
Yeah.
Because as the butler, like, we see him first arrive to the mansion and get things a little bit ready and check on the cook and check on a vet. But then when the guests start arriving, he's like, welcome, please go in this room. So he's doing what butlers do.
Right.
But this will continue throughout the movie, as he'll be like, everyone, quiet, please. Here's what's going on. Here's the stuff you need to know. Now let's go to this location.
I mean, in groups, there's usually somebody who kind of ends up taking control. And it's him.
It's
He has a natural personality for it. He is at the house.
He's
like he lives
outstanding.
there. He is incredible. So he and the director have known each other since childhood.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And that might be part of the reason why there's such, not that, he
I know.
doesn't give his all the time, but there's like such a comfortable, jovial.
He's apparently known
quality.
Jonathan Lynn since one of them was 12 and one was 14.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
that's really, that's
Isn't that
interesting.
nice?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very nice and explains
Maybe.
potentially some of the vibe, because Tim Curry, I mean,
This guy always goes hard, though. Tim
does.
Curry goes hard.
you know what's weird? I don't think I've seen that much Tim Curry stuff.
I haven't really either.
I've seen the
But no
big
matter
ones.
what, he's always given it, isn't he?
He's outstanding. I've seen
One of my favorite Tim Curry things is, I haven't seen the whole movie, but The Worst Witch. I think that's what it's called. The thing that clip is from.
Anything can happen on Halloween.
It's genuinely so fun to watch. It's incredible. My friend Mike reposts it every Halloween. It's
Has
this song that
anybody
he does,
seen my tambourine?
It's this insane song. He's some sort of like lauded wizard man or something of like a school.
He's like the
And-
Dumbledore of a witch school, I think.
Yeah, and he flies into the air, and all these children are like running to like see his Halloween display. It's weirdly sexual, as he almost always is.
it's Tim Curry.
He's not in Clue, actually, but in like every other property he is. Like I
Not
always
in Home Alone 2 either, thank God. That would be surprising.
You're right. So maybe not everything.
But often.
I remember he has a very menacing sexual presence in the Annie movie that made me so uncomfortable.
Talk about a movie that makes you feel sick. No, I do not want to see Annie. I would never want to show that to my daughter.
No, keep her far away from that.
Disgusting.
I watched it. I wouldn't say it's something that I watched a lot when I was a kid, but I watched it sometimes because I did like the music and stuff. But whenever it got to the part where he showed up, he's Rooster. He's Miss Hannigan's brother, and he comes over while like she's in the bath or something. It's all weird. He's like a grifter brother, and seriously, that's the point of the movie where I would sometimes be like, okay, I'm done. Like in Ferris Bueller, when they get to the city, I'm done. I don't need any more. It would be that kind of thing for me.
Yeah, I always hated Annie. I always hated those goddamn songs. The sun will come out. Like it's obviously it's a nice message.
Yeah.
But how many times do we need to hear this song?
I know.
As a kid, I remember that song playing in almost everything, everywhere for some reason. It was like unavoidable.
Inundated with The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow.
It was a nightmare.
It really was. But I did like other songs from Annie, so I'd watch it, and then pretty much when Rooster shows up, it's getting too dark for me as a kid. Off.
Yeah.
Laserdisc out.
Yeah. I only know Tim Curry really like Rocky Horror, obviously. Where, I mean,
killing it.
I have a real fondness for Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
And he's incredible throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
Obviously Pennywise.
Yep.
That might be about it for me, to be honest. I've never seen The Darkness, where he's the devil.
No, I haven't either.
No, that literally might be all I know.
Really? I think because I've seen Clue like 30 times, I feel like I've seen a bunch of Tim Curry movies, but I haven't.
No, I've just spent a lot of time with him. Yeah. He's outstanding.
Yeah, he's
outstanding. The best. And the entire vibe of the movie, the murder vibes in this movie, I think are like just about goddamn perfect, because it's so...
The vibes are immaculate.
It's all silly, overwritten wordplay.
Yeah.
Where there's one that was like, there's one thing where he says to Mrs. White, he's like, that was certainly zipped up. You zipped that up. And she's like, well, the only way to handle a man is through a zipper. And it's just like, okay, like not all these things are rat-a-tat-tat.
Yeah.
And not all of them work for me.
Yeah, of course.
But to some extent, it's almost like you sit back and just trust because it's a good time.
Yeah.
But when they start getting into the deadly stuff is when I think that it really clicks. So the entire conceit now is all of these people have been brought to Hill House. And I want to say that it is like 1945 or something, which maybe is like the year that the Hill House... New England, 1954. I inverted it.
Okay.
But so they're all brought to the house under pseudonyms. So they're not really named, Colonel Mustard. That's what you'll be known as tonight.
Right. And
to ensure your anonymity with the other guests.
With the costuming, obviously, at first, the studio was like, oh, well, they should be wearing their colors. But Jonathan Lynn was like, no, they specifically should not be wearing their colors because they don't know that that's their pseudonym until they get there.
Interesting. Yeah.
So like Miss Scarlet is wearing green. Like it just is not of import, basically, in a way.
I do like the idea that they use the names but explain them. They contextualize them as pseudonyms because when Mr. Body shows up, we find out that he's a blackmailer who has been blackmailing each and every one of them.
Yeah.
And that's why they all have a motive to want him dead.
Yes.
He even gifts them with the murder weapons, but his bizarre gambit is Tim Curry, Wadsworth, the butler. He is going to bring all this out to the police.
Yeah.
And so you should all kill him unless you want your secrets exposed.
Right.
So Mr. Body thinks they're all going to want to kill Tim Curry, but he shuts off the light to give them time to do it in classic murder mystery fashion.
Yep.
Everything goes dark. Someone screams, lights come on, there's a dead body. Well, someone killed Mr. Body.
Yeah.
He's lying there dead on the floor. And now they're all trying to figure out. Everyone's trying to cover up. It wasn't me.
Right.
He was shot. No, wait, he wasn't shot. Maybe he was poisoned. And they're all like riddling it out. And it immediately gets panicky.
Yeah.
Over the course of the night, Tim Curry keeps saying, like, everyone is here for a reason. Everybody who comes to this house, who's at this house right now, is involved in this conspiracy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, other people start knocking on the door, and there's like a motorist shows up.
Yeah,
There's
singing
like
telegram.
Singing telegram, a cop who shows up, and it turns out they are also part of this big conspiracy as well.
Yeah.
Every single person at the house is contrived to be there by someone.
Right.
By Mr. Body, presumably.
Who was it? By the way, Mr. Body was played by a guy who went by Lee Ving from the band Fear. And the singing telegram lady is Jane, I'm blanking on her last name, from the Go-Go's.
Who is also from Bill and Ted and played Joan of Arc.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But so every single person, like the motorist, when he goes into one of the rooms to use the phone, everyone's just like smiling at him.
Yeah, being like, everything's fine. Everything's
fine.
normal.
There are no dead bodies, even though they keep piling up. After Mr. Body, the cook is killed.
Right. So they're just like piling them in a room to just like have them centralized.
But so the motorist is now alone using the phone. And we linger with him. And it's like raining outside. And he's talking to the phone. And he goes, the strangest thing is happening. I came here for help, and there's some sort of a strange party going on. And the weirdest part is that one of them is my former, and then somebody uses the lead pipe to hang up the phone and bludgeon the guy to death.
Yeah, it's
and
kick-ass.
So he never says enough to reveal who the killer is.
Right.
But it's like, oh my God, he's part of this as well.
Yeah.
And that vibe, like they really do go from this like rat-a-tat, like 50s wordplay to murder feeling.
Yeah.
And it works for me so well.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that atmosphere is completely perfect. I feel like a part of it is the setting. Like, obviously, no doubt, it's the actors and everything, but the house is perfect looking, the outside, that it's raining, all of that stuff. And so the setting was also important because everything is shot just in this one house. It's not a house, it's a set, but a set that was all built on the same lot.
Okay.
So rather than most movies and TV having to be shot out of sequence, because like, let's say that you have a nightclub you're shooting at and part of it happens in the beginning and part of it happens in the middle of your movie. You're going to shoot all of those scenes at the same time. So you're going to be shooting, I shouldn't have said the beginning and middle, let's say the beginning and end.
Sure.
So you're going to be shooting the beginning and the end first, and then you're going to shoot the middle elsewhere, whatever. So it's not.
It's all
sequence.
location. You focus on locations.
Right. So then you don't get to shoot your movie in sequence. Because all of this was all together, the set, they were able to shoot this movie in sequence. So they went through the beats as they happen in the movie. And I wonder if that also adds a little bit of a natural feeling to it and kind of especially helps because there is such that like rat-a-tat-tat wordplay sort of thing. It's less confusing because they got to shoot it all the way that it's going to be seen.
In order.
Yeah.
And it makes it come off like a play.
It's totally like a play.
It makes that house feel like a character that you like start to get the floor plan of it in your mind. And even like the tile work in it is supposed to look like the spaces that you traverse in the board game. Like it feels like a place. It feels like a real place to me.
Yeah.
And it feels seamless. It really feels seamless.
Here's something that Michael McKean said about it. He said that it was, this is a quote, "It's one of the most fun gigs I've ever had. We were all in everything. It was all in sequence on the same stage in the same wardrobe every day. It's like moving to a small town and you get to know everybody and you have the story holding you together."
I love that.
So I can see that. Like you're dressed,
that.
it's not even like it's taking place over more than the course of an evening. So you always have the same costume.
Yeah.
Like I would imagine you can be like really in it.
Absolutely.
Which is so fun. And if you like your coworkers, like how awesome.
This is slightly tangential, but I'll bring it back around. That quote just made me think, do you know how Clerks 2 was shot?
No.
I've talked about this a lot lately, weirdly.
Okay.
Clerks 2, they didn't have a lot of money. It was like $5 million. And they had to, it all takes place around a fast food restaurant. And so the production found an abandoned like Burger King or whatever that was right next to a motel.
Yeah.
And so they rented the motel to be the rooms for the cast to stay at.
Oh, that's cool.
So they would wake up, walk to the set. It was right there across the parking lot.
Right.
Shoot the movie, go back to their rooms and hang out.
That's cool.
And like hang out with each other on the porch and stuff. Maybe a little claustrophobic.
I would want the decompression time from driving in the car.
I'm
Even
sure
if we
it would
were
be
all staying at the
okay.
same hotel, I would just need a little alone time by myself.
I would have to hope that it would be okay if you didn't emerge from your room or something.
I would hope.
But at night, Kevin Smith would even edit the scenes they shot that day.
That's
and
super
in the
cool.
morning be able to show them what they'd been making.
That's awesome.
It just feels like very folksy and very, very tight knit.
Yeah.
Now, to bring it back around, because that's just me talking about like a fun movie thing that I like.
I mean, that's fine.
Kevin Smith did a whole episode of his podcast. I didn't re-listen to it. I'm starting to wish that I had. Where the entire point is he's telling a story to his producer, Scott Mosher. He's like, I've got all these DVDs that I buy and I never watch them. So last night I plucked Clue off the wall to watch with my wife, Jen, in bed. And I hate it. I hate that movie. It's one of the worst movies ever made.
Incorrect.
Like, the entire podcast is Kevin Smith talking about how much he hates Clue.
Yeah.
And I sort of wish that I went back to be able to tell you why, but I do not know why. But he's one of the naysayers, which is fine.
Yeah.
But he's one of the people who doesn't like it.
Right.
Similar to one of like the most revered film reviewers of all time, Roger Ebert. Roger Ebert gave this movie like I think a 2 or 2.5 stars out of 4. That was his grading system. And his whole thing, about that sort of like feeling of everyone being in it together. One thing that he said is that he felt like the cast looked super bored, and that because a lot of them are just shouting in unison, he felt like sometimes he would just see them, like cast members standing in the back of like one of the frames, just bored, waiting for their chance to do something. Because otherwise, you're just standing around.
Right.
Everyone's in every shot together.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It was an interesting
funny.
perspective, but one I obviously disagree with.
Yeah, right.
And I loved hearing that Michael McKean thought that it was very like homey and
Yeah, so there's an oral history of Clue that's on EW.com, entertainmentweekly.com. And there are quotes from him and Jonathan Lynn, the director and writer, Leslie Ann Warren. I don't know if anybody else was quoted in this.
Nikki.
Right. People like this.
Yes.
And it's funny because also they would contradict each other sometimes, and you could tell that, and obviously it's not like it's a surprise, like the writer of this would say to, let's say, Jonathan Lynn, oh, Michael McKean said this. And he'd be like, well, I don't remember that, and figure it out. So at one point, Michael McKean said that during the end scenes when Tim Curry is running back and forth in that hallway, like acting out and explaining how the murders happened. Yeah. He said at one point he was on a skateboard. Like this guy really just like was doing it for the paycheck. Like he was like going for it. Yeah. And then Jonathan Lynn was like, Michael McKean has a very fun imagination, but like I don't know what he's talking about with the skateboard.
That's funny.
And then also he said, another thing that was like that was that Michael McKean said that he ad-libbed the ending line of the whole movie, which is, I'm going to go home and have sex with my wife, because Mr. Green is supposed to be gay. And then you find out that he's actually like a secret agent basically in this whole thing. And he said that he ad-libbed that and that it went well, so they kept it. And then Jonathan Lynn said he didn't ad-lib that. Like I had it in the script. And then in the oral history, it said that after the interview, Jonathan Lynn reached back out to the reporter and said, I looked for the script and I found it, and it is in the script. However, the number of the script or something, I'm not totally sure what it was, means that it's not impossible that we added that into the script so that we actually have like a voice of truth, basically.
Essentially like a transcript. Like I have a script for the Blair Witch Project. It is not the shooting. It's like assembled after the fact.
Right. Yeah. So he was like, so it's inconclusive, basically, what he was saying. It was really funny. Also in that, they said that hero of mine, Madeline Kahn, I just think she is like one of the funniest people like on the planet. She ad-libbed the flames on the side of my face thing.
Which is outstanding.
So the line was just because somebody says to her, like, you hated Lynette.
Didn't you?
Yeah, and she's just supposed to say, yes, I hated her. And she said to the director, like, is it okay if I try to do something? And he was like, yeah, go ahead, but let's also shoot it the way it's supposed to be, just for coverage or whatever. Yeah. So she started doing it, and the take that's in the movie is actually the second take, because the first take she did, everybody started cracking up, and she also broke and started laughing. Yeah. But they loved it. And so, like, Jonathan Lynn was like, we're going to use this. Like, they didn't even shoot the thing that was just her saying, yes, I hated her.
Perfect. And like,
it's incredible,
iconic for good reason.
I know. I have that bumper sticker on my car so I can tell which car is mine in the parking lot.
Wait, is that what you? Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah. My car looks like every car on the planet, and so I have just not that bumper stickers are weird or bad anyway, but I just haven't had a lot before. Anyway, I have flames on the side of my face, bumper sticker, and also Elaine dancing.
And honk if you're farting, and
Yeah, and, you know.
fart if you honked. All of you've got every variation.
You're going to make me honk.
Yeah, so I farted.
Right.
Yeah.
And, sorry, I just realized another Clue thing I have. A shot from Clue is my banner on Twitter and Facebook.
Is that? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's all of them at the door when I don't know who comes.
Wow, you're like a super fan.
I love Clue.
Do you have a Clue tattoo?
No, but I have thought about that like since I started getting tattoos, and I couldn't figure it out. Like,
How have we not bothered
what?
to explain your various horror-themed tattoos? How is this possible?
I feel like I don't know, maybe.
I'm sure they've come up in passing, but
Yeah.
this seems, like something that would be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, maybe. But no, I've wanted one forever, and I've tried to figure it out. The only thing I could really figure out, and I don't want, is
Professor Plum. Just like a perfect photorealistic portrait of Professor Plum.
Actually, now I think about it, maybe I should get flames on the side of my face, like in writing. You know, my friend
Mr. Body cocking an eyebrow.
You know, my friend Jesse does like really beautiful.
Yes.
Maybe I should just have flames on the side of my face. But anyway, I was like, oh, maybe I'll get just the weapons like really tiny or something. And then I didn't really want to do that because I don't really just want like a rope on me or whatever. Yeah. I think the itch was scratched when I got the like pulp magazine eyeglass.
The eyeglass,
yeah,
like a very
yeah.
Agatha Christie eyeglass.
Yeah.
I've got the tattoo for you.
What?
So it is the Madeline Kahn posture of flames on the side of my face, where like hands are up and she's like sort of like looking intense.
Yeah.
And then just fire behind it.
Yeah.
Right?
That would be awesome.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, I don't have any like portrait-y tattoos, but
Get to work.
I really do love Madeline Kahn, so not terrible.
You know, you have a portrait of a grumpy bear.
That's true.
Kristen got a tattoo of this
That's
funny-looking
true.
teddy bear that looks constantly disappointed.
Yeah, it's a teddy bear we had at home. It sat it was in a high chair by our dining room table with a tiny wooden apple in front of it.
It was an old antique wooden high chair. Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's an old antique wooden high chair, and then Grumpy Bear frowning, wearing a pink dress
It's a red dress that I wore as a baby.
and a little wooden apple. It just looks angry at the little wooden apple. It was there for a long time.
It was just really funny. Our mom
Grumpy
set it
Bear.
up, and it was like emblematic of our family.
It's absolutely
So I have
charming.
Grumpy Bear with a bunch of daisies underneath with the petals falling off because things aren't working out so well.
Now that's a mascot.
Yeah,
Grumpy
it
Bear.
is. I love you, Grumpy Bear.
Shout out Grumpy Bear.
Yeah. My friend Jesse did that as well.
Oh, that's funny.
Is it? I can't
Look it
think
up. Look it up. It's worth getting right.
Yeah. I don't have Instagram on my phone anymore.
Oh, look at you. Oh, yeah.
Her name is Jessica Nusifora. I bet if you put that into Instagram, you'll be able to find. She's incredible, and she works in Philly at God damn it, I'm blanking on everything. Never mind.
Tattoo
Clue.
place.
Yeah, a gorgeous tattoo place that used to be a church.
It's at Jessie Fora, Jessiefora. Jessie
She
Fora.
works at Something Hand Tattoo. Is it in her thing?
True Hand
True
Society?
Hand. Yes, True Hand Tattoo. Yep.
All right. I don't work for you, you know.
I'm sorry. It was sucking up too much time. I still go on it on the computer.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So back to Clue.
It kicks ass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I was just talking about improv-y
Oh,
stuff.
flames on the
Like-
side of our face.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's let's talk about the endings.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So the entire thing, as you've mentioned, it does drive toward not one singular answer of who is behind it all, but three separate endings. The
Yeah.
first one is presented like you wouldn't even know that it's an alternate or
Right.
something. So Tim Curry famously is like, and this is like a very murder mystery thing too. Like I do think that Hercule Poirot does this sometimes. Where he's like,
Lays it
let's
out.
revisit the events of the evening from the
Definitely.
top with the new information that we have. And so it's Tim Curry literally running throughout the mansion.
Yeah,
being
so if
able to,
he's talking about like the cook was stabbed in the kitchen, he's not just doing that in the hallway. He hauls ass to the kitchen and everybody follows after him.
Yes. And then he goes, now the only way to know who is responsible is that the gun is missing. So gentlemen, turn out your pockets. Ladies, empty your purses. Whoever has the gun must be our killer. And he believes that it is Miss Scarlet, who it is.
Yeah.
So Miss Scarlet contrived the whole event with the help of Yvette the maid, which is why we mentioned that like she's so unassuming at first, but she is said to have killed the cook and done some of the murders, but
Right,
all
she's
under
something
the
of a mastermind.
all under the direction of Miss Scarlet, who is then arrested I want to say.
Yeah, because I think the whole thing is that he's had the cops outside or something.
Yeah.
And that guy comes in and yeah.
Yeah. And then a title card comes up and it says, that's how it might have happened. But how about this?
Because when you play the game, you could play multiple times and get multiple answers. So also, this was a gimmick
Yes.
from the studio. They had the different endings play in different theaters, hoping that people would catch wind of this and go see the movie multiple times to see the multiple endings. That did not happen.
It's a big
People did
ask.
not like that.
No.
Yeah.
Now I'm struggling with whether or not I would like it today. My gut is still probably no.
I think it's a really cool idea, but it's logistically, I would say, kind of unfair to the audience if you're not. It kind of sucks that like you would see the movie, you pay to go see a movie, and then you find out there are a bunch of other endings, but you have to go again and again if you want to find out everything that happened.
I think the execution is off. The marketing is off.
Yeah.
I think the execution of like literally doing it, it's pretty seamless.
It's
that
so
like there's
cool.
a cut point as soon as Tim Curry like turns the lights off or something. It's like, okay, now there are 3 different possible endings.
Yeah.
And they each could play out seamlessly.
Right.
I'd say put them all 3 in theaters, but do not label them.
Yeah.
Do not say to people, we've got 3 endings, you know. The last 5 minutes of the movie are different, depending on if you go to A, B, or C. Just let people watch them all, and then hope that somebody goes, I can't believe it was Miss Scarlet. And somebody goes, what are you talking about? It was Professor Plum.
Yeah.
And then they all start going like, no, in mine it was this, in yours it was that.
Yeah, just
oh my
kind of
God,
just like
are
mind confusion, melding things together.
are there different versions?
Yeah.
Then it would be this like cultural thing of like, I can't believe it. It's like the board game. It's different every time you see it almost.
Wait, so are you saying that they would have all 3 endings for each showing?
No,
you're still saying it'd be different.
I'm
for every
saying
showing.
still release because they literally said, you know, it's Clue ending A,
Right.
Clue ending B, and you could literally buy tickets for ending A or ending B. I'm saying still put all 3 endings out separately. And then just
I would
let
be
people
irritated.
discover that they're different. I think it's kind of cool.
It is cool. If we were in a world where movies were free to go to, I would say very cool. But it's a lot to ask.
I think saying to people there are 3 different versions of the movie, go see them all, that's where it gets tricky. I think if you just do it
No,
and
but
let
even if
people
you just
realize
do
that there are
it-
3 different versions,
No.
just enjoy that they're different. Why do you have to go back and spend more money and get the babysitter again? Just accept it. You saw the one where Miss Scarlet was the killer.
I don't know.
Really? I think it's kind of cool.
Nah,
think
I
it's
would
kinda
be
interesting.
aggravated. I'd be like, I think it's cool theoretically, but
Yeah.
just I keep repeating myself. I would want to know what the deal is, and so it'd be annoying that I'm like, oh, I didn't really see the whole movie.
Well,
you know?
here's part of the problem is that like none of these endings, none of the 3
Yeah,
make total sense to me.
yeah,
So like there's not one good ending.
Right.
You have to see all 3 to have the fun.
the satisfaction.
Yeah.
And also it helps you understand what the point even is of having the 3 different endings
Yeah.
because they show like, oh, it could happen this way, it could happen
And
that
I
way.
love the,
and you
like-
can understand like, oh, it's because you could get different results from a game.
Yes.
Having them all 3 together, like they aired on TV and like they later came out for like home video, I think is like the best possible way to do it.
I couldn't agree more. It has so much
I love
character.
a gimmicky thing, but I just feel like
I do love a gimmick. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine William Castle being like, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Depending on which night you go or which time you go in, you might walk out seeing something different than your neighbor. Seeing something different than your coworker gives you something to talk about around the water cooler. Like, there's a way to gussy it up. I still think you don't say anything and let people organically realize that there are differences. But obviously, I mean, people hated it and they never did this again.
yeah,
So,
right.
I don't know.
Right, totally.
Now, this was also a thing that Roger Ebert on Ebert and what was his friend's name?
Well, it's Roper. It was Roper later. But what the hell is it? Siskel.
Siskel and Ebert. They both hated this. They both hated the gimmick. And they go, and by the way, I think we both know which ending is the good one. Let's just go ahead and say it together.
Did they?
Ending A. They both thought that the Miss Scarlet ending, where she contrived the whole thing and Yvette is in on it, that's the good ending.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion? I do agree with you that I think they all need to. The fun is in having the 1920s silent film era cards say, but what about this? The fun is it's it's different every time you do it. That to me is the real ending, is that it's all the endings.
Right. I don't know if I have a favorite of them.
Yeah.
I don't think I do.
Because they each, I think, have something that bursts the logistics. I think that each of them are impossible in some way.
They are. I understand why they make the last ending the one where like everybody did it.
It's the ultimate ending.
Yeah, because everybody's
the ultimate possible
then.
situation.
So I don't love Miss Peacock. I find her grating.
Eileen Brennan?
However, yes.
That's the role.
I know. I said I don't like Miss Peacock. I didn't say I don't like Eileen Brennan.
She was in Jeepers Creepers as the cat lady. How dare you?
I know that it's her.
You
whole
sort
thing.
of remember her from Storytime Theater.
No,
Henson
Leslie
thing.
Ann Warren is who I kind of remember from that. No, I know it's the character, but every time she's screaming like I'm like, ugh.
Yes. Yes.
However, I do like it in her ending where when she gets serious for a second, she's like, "Good job, Wadsworth," or whatever she says.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fun to see her get a little steely for a
sec. She kind of goes
sec.
like, "I'll take it from here."
Yeah.
She gets like gravelly, and then when she goes outside, there's a guy that was like pretending to be an evangelist.
Yeah.
And he goes, "By the way, Miss Peacock," and she goes, "How did you know my name?" And it's like there is just like. Once the killer is unveiled, there is an element of danger that's very enjoyable to all three of them. It's like Scream.
Yeah.
Which, P.S.
You like?
I'm officially unveiling that I like the movie Scream.
Me too. You heard it here first.
Is Scream really a movie that you could watch and make a case that you could actually like figure out who the killer is? If we're being honest, right? Like everybody is sort of given a motive so that they can pull the wool over your eyes and surprise you with the actual reveal.
Well, there are a lot of things that on second watch you can notice and be like,
yes, it's a second watch extravaganza.
I kind of think so. There's nothing that's concrete.
Right.
It's really just like Billy and Stu giving each other like a million looks and like
so
doing their own
retrospect.
wordplay.
But everybody's wearing the boots. Everybody's doing everything. So like when you watch it the first time, you're totally in the dark. You have no ability to find an answer.
No.
But that's also like,
honestly, the only thing I'm thinking of that's like, you could just take this and really run with it, even though there are a million things that could throw you off. When they're at the fountain in the beginning,
sure,
and they have that little like
tete-a-tete.
I was going to say the little tete-a-tete about like, well, you didn't blah blah blah.
Totally.
Like you could really zoom in on that and be like, that's friggin' weird.
That's absolutely
and hang
true.
on to it.
Yep. But again, I think that this almost underscores another thing about Clue to me of like, whodunits have two shelf lives. One is when you watch it the first time and you're having fun, but also maybe somewhere in the back of your mind you're playing along and wondering about all the red herrings and stuff, and then surprised. And then its second life is when you watch it again and get to see all the doublespeak that you missed the first time around.
Yeah.
Clue, when you watch it again, it's because it's fun and entertaining.
Yeah.
You don't watch it again and go, I see the mastermind at work. It's not a whodunit. It is not. It's so funny. It's like, it's got the trappings and the feel of a murder mystery, but it's not really a. And I know, to your point, like the characters are in a mystery, so it obviously is a murder mystery. But like in audience language, like you don't have the same relationship to the murder mystery as you do in other murder mysteries.
No, it's totally true, because there are three endings. Everything preceding that has to line up with all three.
With all three.
So you're not going to see. Well, I guess not really. I was about to say, you're not going to see, there's a bad example maybe, Miss Scarlet skulking around being obvious that it's her.
Right.
But because all of the characters are in the end, except for Mr. Green, they are all killers. Like, they could all be acting squirrely.
True.
And whatever. But no, you can't play with it that same way.
No.
Yeah.
But they're all super fun, and that's why the last ending, C, to me, I think is like the ultimate.
Yeah.
Even though it, again, doesn't necessarily hold up given the other information from the rest of the movie, but it's very satisfying.
It somehow feels not as satisfying as I might want it to be. Maybe because you've already seen two unveilings.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, like we've kind of done this and whatever. And also, I don't always love and it happens in other things, the everybody is the bad guy sort of thing. It's a little bit more I
It's
just keep saying
easy
satisfying.
or something.
Yeah, it's a little bit more satisfying when there's like the bad guy. Like I just read a book that I did like overall, but the murder in it ends up being that it was faked and it was all orchestrated to make the suspects essentially think that it happened for this purpose. And it was enjoyable all the way through, but I didn't really love that either. I wanted to hear who the bad guy was.
Yeah,
I whatever. So I think it's a really fun and really smart ending, but I don't super love it.
Yeah, I think it's super entertaining, and I think it uses the premise to the fullest extent, right? Yep. Because sometimes when you play the game, Miss Peacock is the killer. Sometimes we play the game, it's Miss Scarlet. Sometimes it's Colonel Mustard. Well, the final ending, they could just do that, right? They already had ending 1 is Miss Scarlet.
Right.
Ending 2 is Miss Peacock. And then when you get to ending 3, it's like, well, let's just cover the rest.
Yeah.
Each one of them is responsible for one of the murders.
Totally.
And that third one is where you find out that Tim Curry is not Wadsworth the butler.
Right.
He is Mr. Body.
Mr. Body was Wadsworth, the person that was killed.
They swapped their identities because Mr. Tim Curry knew that somebody would end up dead, and so he made sure it wasn't himself. But he's the one.
He had something on him, so he had to do it.
And it makes sense that he's been pulling the strings the whole time. He's been playing everybody like a puppeteer.
Yep.
And it's fun to see Tim Curry act a little deadly at the end. It's very satisfying.
Yes.
And then I even just like the idea, and it goes back to just like Agatha Christie cozy murder mystery vibe stuff, that like you find out like Colonel Mustard is like the motorist was my driver during the war.
Yeah.
And the cop that showed up, Miss Scarlet, had been paying him off. And Yvette, Mrs. White hated Yvette, so she went ahead and killed her.
Yeah.
And Professor Plum thought he killed Mr. Body.
Well, and also he shot the singing telegram girl because it was his patient who he slept with.
So they each have this complicated, like, it's almost like you all came here expecting that things would go poorly, and because of that, you all ended up becoming killers.
Right.
You all ended up being the worst version of yourself because Mr. Body, Tim Curry, geared you all up, and now you've killed all my informants for me.
Exactly. And so they were all there because they were being blackmailed by Mr. Body, who is Tim Curry, and now he's got more blackmail material on them.
It's tidy.
I would say it's quite tidy, except
even if it doesn't make total sense.
Yeah.
But then the fun of it is that Michael McKean, Mr. Green, who the entire time is supposed to be like bumbling, and the gay joke thing.
Some homophobia in it. Like, it's not outright, but it's supposed to be kind of like he's a little like fey, and like it's a surprise that he is an FBI agent because like,
when he drops the act and he's super cop.
Yeah.
It really underscores like a
stereotype about
a stereotype. Yeah, exactly. But what I like about the reveal is that the entire time, and everyone's saying this admittedly, but like Mr. Green's like, I told you it wasn't me.
I know.
And he didn't kill anybody. He's a cop.
Yeah.
And he's
like, see, I told you it wasn't me.
He pulls his gun and he shoots Tim Curry. And so then every single one of the players from the game has killed someone tonight.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Green killed Mr. Body in the front hall with the revolver.
Yes.
And it's like, it sticks to the landing.
Hits.
Every single one of the icons of the game is a killer.
Yeah.
And then it ends on I'm going to go home and have sex with my wife, which is...
I think it's stupid, but it's
stupid.
Whatever. Yeah.
And I'm still not sure if it's like, hooray, he's not gay, or is it supposed to be,
I think it's,
wow, he really fooled us the whole time.
I think it's that. I
can't tell anymore because time has made fools of us all.
It's true. I don't know. I'm not sure.
But it does end up.
The last line of the Barbie movie, by the way, reminded me of this a little bit. Like just.
Right.
Oh, did you see the Barbie movie?
I did. Yeah. A little surprise.
Yeah, like
line.
Sex line.
A little blue humor line.
Yeah.
And then just smash to credits.
Yeah, right.
You're right.
I thought it was weird in both.
Barbie did pull a clue. I agree.
Yeah.
But you want to have the audience go like, ah!
I
And
know.
like,
I totally
end up looking at each other like, did you see that? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
And then you all clean up your popcorn, hopefully, and get the hell out of there.
Yep.
I think it's a blast. I think the movie's a goddamn blast.
It's a blast.
And even like, there's nothing much to get into with this, but I can't think of another movie where you see people interact with corpses and it's like so like kind of like chill the way that it is here.
Yeah, they're just like doing what they got to do.
It's like, in Home Alone when Kevin McAllister puts like a cardboard cutout of Michael Jordan on a toy train.
Yes.
And it's like going around and he's like rocking around the Christmas tree. They have yeah, boom bada badoomy doomy dang, life would be a dream. And the cop is walking in going like, what's going on in here? And it's like I think Colonel Mustard is dancing with the dead cook.
I think you're right. And I think Miss Scarlet is pretending to make out with the dead motorist, and Professor Plum is behind the motorist, making his arms move up and down her body.
Yeah.
And the cop is like, I don't know why you didn't want me to go in this room. It's just a bunch of people having a good time.
Yes. And it's like, those are corpses. And our characters, our funny characters in our funny story are like carrying people by the knife sticking out of their backs, closing their eyelids because they're staring uncomfortably.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so...
Yeah, they are quite comfortable with the corpses. You're right.
But I like that.
I know.
Like, the vibe is totally fun.
The unrealism of the whole thing. So it makes it more comfortable.
Murder as a silly evening.
Yeah, because it's not, it's so unreal.
This is murder exclamation point.
Yes,
it
is. Yeah.
I wonder if this is called CLUEDO in other countries.
Oh,
the movie.
I do too.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now to conclude, unless you have anything else.
No.
To conclude.
To conclude.
Yeah. Let's talk about the future. Because there have been a few threats.
Yeah, I know.
A few threats have been made.
Yeah, there's something looming, but I don't know. I haven't seen new news about it.
No. So are we safe?
I kind of think we're safe. I wonder if this maybe fell victim to the pandemic or something.
Possibly.
Ryan Reynolds has threatened to do his own reboot version of Clue.
Hold the world hostage.
This doesn't sound good to me.
With, I believe, the writers from Deadpool.
Yes. I don't want that. Whatever, but not for me. And I haven't heard anything about it in a long time, so I kind of don't think it's happening. He might be busy with Mint Mobile.
He could be. One other detail.
Which I heard is a great service, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I really have. I've heard it's like really cheap and has great...
Actually, that's like good coverage, decent coverage. Now, what about their rollover rates? Anyway, one other thing that I've heard about this Clue movie is that it might be globe hopping.
Oh, okay. All right. Why?
Because
how?
Because global appeal, I'm not sure, or just modern taste. You can't just have a movie set in a mansion, maybe?
Yeah.
I think I don't want that.
No. Doesn't seem like something I'd want to see.
Doesn't seem like the vibe.
Nah. Not for moi.
Not for moi.
Yeah.
But there you go. So there's a looming threat of Clue.
It's on that. We'll keep you posted.
On the horizon. We'll be doing weather reports about Clue, whether or not it's coming in.
Absolutely.
But there you go, everybody. Another death game down. And this would be the machination. Just to tidy that up. The house is a puzzle box. Nobody knows why they've shown up there.
Yeah.
And we've got our machination-y mastermind, Tim Curry.
Right.
And if you trust the endings. Yeah. Pulling all the strings to make all of these puppets dance.
Yeah. It's kick-ass.
It kicks hardcore. It kicks major ass.
Yeah. Go watch it.
Major ass was another dropped character. Remember I said like... They almost had I think they were like, we've already got Colonel Mustard. Why do we need Major Ass?
And like Monsieur Brunette or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there you go, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hope you had a good time.
We are going to be back next week to talk about the escape room movies. This is going to be the last episode of Gametober this year.
I can't believe it. Has it flown for you?
It has flown.
I think that Gametober, for my money, and I know that I've got a vested interest in this.
Yeah.
I'm having a ball.
It's fantastic.
With Death Gametober.
And friend of the show, Stephanie Gagnon, who hosts the podcast Books in the Freezer, told me that the escape room movies are very fun, particularly Escape Room 2.
Oh, I've never seen it.
I haven't seen either one.
Well, I'm excited to talk about that next week. So watch Escape Room 2 if you are of a mind to. I think we'll do the same thing. We'll probably do spoiler-free-ish.
Yeah.
But we're going to end up having to spoil it to be able to talk about it properly. So
certainly. Also listen to Books in the Freezer.
Or get comfy. Yeah, listen to Books in the Freezer.
It's about horror books.
Yeah.
It's based on the fact that Joey, when he was scared of a book, put it in the freezer.
That's right. We did an episode.
From Friends.
Did you do 2, I think?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I've done 1.
I think I've maybe done...
Could
I have done 3?
Well, you're just trying to twist that knife, aren't you?
Sure. I know I did Yellow Jackets. I'm thinking maybe I did like Twin Peaks or something. Oh, I know. It was God, what the hell is this movie called? It's Grady Hendrix and
Oh, Last Survivors.
no,
How to Sell a
my
Haunted
best
House.
friend's exorcism.
Okay,
or something
very
like that.
good.
We talked about the movie and the book together. Yeah.
When I was on it with you, we talked about Psycho, the Psycho books.
Yeah. Yep.
But we still didn't cover Psycho Sanatorium.
No, we didn't.
Sanitarium?
I don't know.
always get these words wrong. But anyway, whatever. Someday.
Yeah. Someday.
So thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. At GTTUpod,
Yeah.
patreon.com/GTTUpod. You can also follow us you can follow me online. At The Myth Traveler.
I'm there looking around. I cannot post stories on laptop or do some other things.
Yeah, Kristen
so.
has a jitterbug, so she can't.
I was thinking about it. I was on dumb phone Reddit because I was like, oh, maybe I'll downgrade. But instead, I made my phone black and white, so it's less appealing.
I did that too.
Really?
My phone turns black and white at 11 p.m.
Oh, smart.
Yeah.
I have it just all the time, and I took off all social media. It's honestly worked out very well.
Paying for this thing, are you?
Huh? What?
Your phone?
Wait, what?
For 100% of the time, you want it to not be interesting. Why do you even have a goddamn phone?
I don't know anymore.
Who am I? Who have I become? All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week for scary, spooky games
Ookie gookie.
in a terrifying environment that'll get you killed.
Yeah.
But until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld. Go Lloyd. But you better believe I'm playing that Switch in full color.
I can't wait to get trapped in the escape room.
Yikes.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen. We should review movies. We are Roger Ebert and the other guy.
Gene Siskel.
Gene Siskel.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Look at us. Good for us.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Look at me. Look at me!
Look at me.